Did you know that at least 25 gemstones are rarer than diamonds? The rarest of them all, only 25 exist in the entire world. But diamonds are the king of rare. You've heard of them, you've seen them, you might have even bought one. Those stones that are 1,000 times rarer than diamonds, you can't even pronounce their names. Today we're talking about the hidden giants of the gem world, and their discovery stories are wilder than you think. Some were mistaken for other stones for decades. Some were found in a box of spinets. Some sat in a drawer for years because nobody knew what they were. Their rarity wasn't built by ad budgets. Their rarity is, it was misidentified for years before anyone realized they were looking at something new. If you've ever bought a diamond engagement ring, hit like. You're not alone, but you might want to watch this.
Mistaken for ruby for years. The world's rarest.
Painite, pronounced Painite like you're saying the name of someone you just met. In 1951, a British mineralogist named Arthur C.D. Payne was wandering around Mogoknyang, a place famous for the ground occasionally sparkles. He picked up a reddish-brown crystal and said, must be a ruby.
He was wrong. It took until 1957 for it to be confirmed as an entirely new mineral, named after him. You know how many Painite crystals were known in the entire world for decades after that? 2. Not 200. 2. One in the British Museum, one in a private collection. You ever heard of Painite? No, because De Beers wasn't going to let you. Before 2005, gem-quality Painite could go for $60,000 per carat, about the price of an Audi R8. Send this to anyone who thinks diamonds are the rarest gemstone. You might ask, did the guy who found it get rich? No. Mr. Payne was a mineralogist until he died. He didn't know his discovery would later be called the rarest mineral on Earth. He just kept it in a drawer for 6 years. The 1.7-gram piece is now in the British Museum. As for the 55-carat crystal discovered in 2001, part of it was cut off and sent to Caltech for XRF analysis to confirm it was Painite. Its identity needed a university lab to confirm. That's research value. Taaffeite, cut first, identified later. Then we have Taaffeite. This is the only gem in mineralogy history that was cut and polished before it was identified as a new mineral. In 1945, a Dublin gemologist named Edward Taaffeite bought a box of spinels. One stone caught his attention. It looked like spinel, but it showed birefringence under a polariscope. Spinel is singly refractive. It wouldn't do that. He sent it to a London lab. In 1951, the results came back. It was a brand new mineral. How rare is Taaffeite? To this day, it's still the only gem that was cut before it was identified. The largest known one is only 10 carats. Diamond rarity is something De Beers told you. Taaffeite's rarity is, it was sold as something else for years before anyone figured out who it really was. You might ask, did Taaffeite sell it? No. He donated it to a museum. Not because he was generous, because he couldn't find a buyer. Alexandrite, found on the Tsar's birthday. Alexandrite, discovered in 1830 in Russia's Ural Mountains. You know why it's called that? Because the day it was discovered just happened to be the 21st birthday of the future Tsar Alexander II. You could call it a coincidence. Or you could say he was the first Tsar in history who became a gemstone spokesperson without knowing it. Why is it valuable? Not because it's big, because it changes color. In daylight, it's blue-green. Under candlelight, it's purple-red. One stone, different light, different face. In 2007, Christie's Hong Kong auctioned a 212.76-carat cat's eye Alexandrite, estimated at $1 million. To $1.5 million. You might ask, did the miners who found it get rich? No. They gave it to the Tsar. They got a thank you and a medal. That stone ended up in a crown, then got seized by the revolution, then went to a museum. It didn't spend 100 years with one person. It spent 100 years moving through the power system. Benitoite, California's blue fire sparklier than diamond. Benitoite. Discovered in 1906 in San Benito County, California. The only gem-quality source in the entire world, just this one place. Its fire is higher than diamond. Dispersion is 0.046, diamond is 0.044. The beers wouldn't tell you that. If you knew there was a stone that sparkles more than diamond, and it only comes from California, would you still pay for a diamond? In 1985, California made it the state gem. In 2006, the only commercial mine closed. How rare is Benitoite? Annual production is less than 100 carats. Fewer than 100 exist globally. Over 1 carat, you'll basically only see it in photos. Every Benitoite you see on the market now, it came from old stock. A flawless 1 carat Benitoite can go for $8,000 to $10,000. Now here's the problem. If you have a Benitoite, who do you sell it to? That's why so many Benitoites end up in museums and research institutions. You can't sell it, so you might as well donate it and get your name on a plaque. Musgravite. Name rarer than the stone. Musgravite, a name so long that even if you spend 5 minutes learning how to say it, you'll forget it in 3 months. Discovered in 1967 in South Australia, named after the location. Before 2005, there were only 8 known faceted musgravites in the entire world. Price per carat? $35,000. Singapore collector Joseph Fun. He owns a 101.07 carat musgrava. He started collecting rare gems over 20 years ago. He built a 1,000 square foot private museum in an industrial park. He didn't sell it. He doesn't plan to. Grandidierite, a Forbes-listed blue-green legend. Grandidierite, discovered in 1902 in Madagascar, named after French naturalist Alfred Grandidier. It's a regular on Forbes' most expensive gemstones list. In 2014, 800 kilograms of rough were found in Madagascar. Only 60 grams were gem quality. 800 kilograms down to 60 grams. Transparent faceted Grandidierite can go for $20,000 plus per carat. The man who discovered it? Alfred Grandidier. He was a naturalist, not a miner. He gave it to the Paris Natural History Museum. He didn't sell it because he had no idea it would be valuable. Serendibite, bluer than sapphire. Serendibite, discovered in 1902 in Sri Lanka. Serendib is the old name for Sri Lanka. November 2023. Christie's Hong Kong sold a 5.52 carat Sri Lanka Serendibite for 1.53 million Hong Kong dollars. That's 277,000 Hong Kong dollars per carat. Gem quality Serendibite rough? Less than 200 grams per year globally. 200 grams, that's enough for about 501 carat stones. Who bought that 5.52 carat stone? No idea. Auction houses don't tell you. But you can be sure of one thing. It's locked in a vault somewhere, and the owner occasionally opens it to check, yep, still there.
You might have noticed, these rare gems don't end up in vaults or jewelry boxes. They end up in museums and university labs. Painite in the British Museum. Taaffeite in Dublin. Benitoite in the California State Mineral Museum. Red diamonds in the Smithsonian.
Why? Not because the owners are all generous souls. Because they finally realized there are maybe 10 people in the world willing to buy this stone, and 5 of them already work in museums. Some were donated by billionaires. Ronald Winston gave the Winston Red Diamond to the Smithsonian. Some go to universities for teaching and research. Some come with scientific labels. GIA analyzed a red diamond's color origin and published the findings.
So this raises a question. Why can you sell a diamond but not a painite? The answer is simple. There has to be enough supply to attract dealers and middlemen. Diamonds are rare enough to be valuable, but common enough to be traded. Painite is too rare, you can't buy it and you can't sell it.
Think about it. If you spent $60,000 on a carat of painite, would you worry about whether anyone would buy it if you wanted to sell? If the answer is, I don't know, you wouldn't buy it. That's the definition of no market. Too much, no value. Too little, no market. Only the right amount of rarity creates a market. So, are diamonds really the rarest? No. There are 25 gems rarer than diamonds. But they don't have PR teams. They don't have a century of advertising. They're just rare. These stones will probably never be your engagement ring. Not because they're too expensive, because you can't find a seller. Diamonds? You can buy them at any mall. That's the difference between ad-defined rarity and actual rarity. But at least now you know they exist. And knowing they exist is itself a rarer thing than a diamond. Have you ever heard of any of these gemstones? Tell me in the comments. I'm Pearl, and this is the Absolute V. Subscribe if you want to know what's actually in your jewelry box and your feed.